everybody, and welcome to Before College TV. I am Harlan Cohen, and I am with students from the Ohio State University. Hey, students, can you hear me? Can you see me? Give me a wave. This is exciting. I am so grateful to have you here. Now, those of you who love Ohio State and love sports, you're going to especially appreciate this because so many of our students who are here are part of, what do we call it, Matthew?
The best damn band in the land.
Is that how did you say it with such enthusiasm? Before this even started, I watched the YouTube video, the 2019 space landing. Where were you in the Mars rover? Which section were you?
I was actually an alternate for that show. You
didn't make it on the field.
I made it on the field, but I held the USA banner in the rocket, and I held the giant American flag. So, I mean, I feel like we really value the media attention that we get, and we attribute our success a lot to the media attention. So like the space show that you're talking about, they ended up flying an Ohio State flag in the space station after that show, which was super remarkable. So we saw that as a big win.
Erin, I'm so grateful to have you here. Erin is a graduate of Centerville High School. You are from Centerville, Ohio. You are ending your junior year. You were ripped from Columbus prematurely because of coronavirus. How are you feeling about this?
It's pretty weird. I have to say, I feel, and this sounds kind of terrible, but I feel kind of grateful that I'm not a senior. I have so many friends that are seniors right now, and I'm an education major as well. So not only did they miss out on the senior part of their college experience, they missed out on the end of like their student teaching experience.
Oh, that's horrible.
Right before they go into their own classrooms, in the fall. And so that's kind of scary to me to think about. Also, like when I start student teaching this fall, we might not even be going back to school at this point because some states are talking about delaying the fall semester. So
yeah,
for me, like I love going home. I go home a lot. And so the fact that I'm home doesn't bother me too much, but it's definitely very different. And it just doesn't feel like normal school.
Let's take you to campus. Let's imagine that everything was just the way it was supposed to be. And it is April 14th. Isn't that the date? I think that's the date. Mm-hmm. It is now 5:18 Eastern time for those of you in Ohio, and for those of you in the Central time, it's 4:18. So, Erin, tell me, where would you be had the world not been turned upside down at this exact moment on a Tuesday at Ohio State?
At this exact moment, I would probably still be in, where would I be? I would probably be in ARPS Hall, which is one of the two main teaching buildings. I only have class on Tuesdays and Wednesdays this semester. They're all 3-hour classes, which to anybody scheduling classes, I would not recommend the schedule given to us. So right now I would probably still be, because I have a class from, I would be in class by now because I have class from 4 to 7. So
wow.
I'm University Hall, which is actually the same building that they show at the beginning of Pretty Little Liars. Fun little tidbit on the Oval. And so I would have just gotten dinner and I would be in class.
So where would you have had dinner?
So ARPS Hall is on High Street for anyone that's visited campus, and which is like the east border of campus. And there's all sorts of food options on High Street. There's Moe's, Chipotle, Chick-fil-A, Baby Bob, tons of different things to eat. I usually pack, but sometimes my friends and I will go out to eat.
Right. So there's a lot of good choices. So you get you get fast food, and you would have been in class. So you said not to take 3-hour classes or to not schedule your day, because it sounds pretty awesome that you only have class 2 days a week. I mean, that sounds amazing. You get to sleep in and chill out the rest of the week.
Sounds awesome, but on Wednesdays, I have class from 9 to 7, and I don't go home.
Sounds like a long day.
Yeah, so it's a very long day, and the freedom around the rest of the week is nice, but it does fill up with a job or clubs or
Do you have a job?
that. I
What
do.
job?
I work at the OSU Child Care Center during the school year.
Oh, nice. So you take care, and you get paid for that?
Mhm.
And what do you get paid? And here's the thing. If I ask you questions that you don't want to answer, you guys can be like, pass, I don't want to answer. But
Yeah.
I think it's helpful for people who want to go to Ohio State and want to get a job just to know. So that's where it comes from.
Right. If you're a non-education major, it's minimum wage, which I think is like $8.15, $8.30, whatever. And then as an education major, I make $9 an hour.
Right. And is there education school? Is that a good program at Ohio State?
It's a very good school. The early childhood, I know, is in the top 10 of the country.
Wow. Okay. Well, good. Well, we're going to get to know you and why you decided to go to Ohio State. I want to jump to Mackenzie because Mackenzie, this is your first year in college, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then tell me how you put this together. Like, you are the magic behind our party here today. Mackenzie, how do you know the other people in the other boxes?
We actually met through a fraternity that I just joined. Just became active last week, was it? I think. Yeah. But Aaron was actually my guiding spirit or mentor in this in our membership class for Kappa Kappa Psi, which is an honorary band fraternity. We focus on service to serve the college bands in the college community and kind of across the country too. So we do service projects and brotherhood projects relating to that. So I met all these people through either, if not to Biddle, then through Kappa Kappa Psi. So I just put in a group chat. I was like, hey, this is a weird opportunity. Like, my choir director from high school tagged me in this thing on Facebook, said you were looking for Ohio State people, and they graciously volunteered, and I'm forever grateful.
Oh, that's so nice. I think that says a lot, because for students who want to go to a particular school or are interested, the idea that you're willing to be here and, and you guys want to help is really wonderful. And everybody on the panel, they've included their social media. So they'll answer questions. Like, will all of you just nod your heads? Like, legitimately, are you okay answering questions? Like, you don't mind, right? Like, that's so beautiful. So thanks for that. So this fraternity, now I think of a fraternity, I was in a fraternity when I was at Indiana University, very different than the type of fraternity it looks like you're in, because it looks like this is a co-ed fraternity. Are there crazy parties? Is it out of control? Is there, tell me more. I mean, I kind of have an idea, but I want other people
I think the others can speak to this more, because like I said, I just became active last week. So I've just gone through the membership process that lasted about 3 months. We went through the curriculum. It was called The Road to Wisdom, all about the teachings and the values, basically how the fraternities run, that kind of thing. So does anyone else want to speak to, I guess, being in it as an active brother? Because I don't have a lot of experience in that yet.
Do you call yourself an active brother?
Yes.
Oh, I like that. So that's interesting. It looks like Matthew, are you in a leadership position, Matt or Matthew, in the fraternity?
We aren't, but Aaron actually is.
You are, Aaron.
Aaron is, but she's talking a lot. You guys feel free to talk about it.
Yeah. I'm curious, why did you guys join, and was it hard to join? Did you have to be picked to join? Did you get rejected the first couple times and then get in?
For me, I joined because when my dad was in college, he was in Kappa Kappa Psi. So I decided, hey, why don't I join this thing my dad was in and help the bands? So when I was kind of going out for it, you go through like an interview process where you kind of like, it's kind of like speed dating. You interview all the active brothers so they can kind of get to know you. Some of the questions are like, what do you like in a leadership position? When have you faced reject? Why do you want to be a brother of Kappa Kappa Psi? And then all the brothers vote on you if they think that you should become what they call as a membership candidate.
Do some people not get enough votes?
There's sometimes they don't get enough votes. Yeah.
Right. That's rough. And then you get in, and then you're part of this, and then this is how you guys all became friends. So your closest friends, how many of them are part of this organization?
I'd say maybe
all of them
70,
except Andy.
80%.
A lot, yeah.
So this is where you made your friends, right? Because one of the things going to a place like Ohio State, and I should mention that that was Matt Brewer in the red shirt, correct, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And Matt is from North Royalton, Ohio, North Royalton High School. You're an engineering physics major with a concentration in aerospace. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah,
So you love space.
I do.
Why? What do you love about
Behind me
space?
is I've always watched, if you've ever heard of the show Cosmos, hosted by Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I started watching it, and I was really, really intrigued, and I kind of just thought, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Right. What's behind you? You said you're pointing something out.
That's a Lego Apollo Saturn V rocket that I built like 2 weeks ago because of this quarantine.
Right. Oh, that's pretty awesome. Mackenzie, how has your first year been going? I know you are from the suburbs of Chicago. You're from Hickory Hills, and we met when I did an event at Stagg High School, and I talked to the band, and your band director is great. Mr. Betts, is that what you call him?
Yeah, Mr. Betts is my choir director.
Your choir
Was
director.
here.
Yeah. So he's like a really good guy. Someone who clearly you're still in touch with because you graduated and you still have a relationship, which is wonderful. Have you found your people at Ohio State, and how was your first year? Explain to me that transition for you.
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like I found my people. And I think I can attribute a lot of that to Kappa Kappa Psi and and band as well. First semester, I kind of went in. I moved in early, actually, from Chicago to Columbus a week before everybody else. So I lived in Lincoln Tower, which
Explain Lincoln Tower. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so it's 24 stories high, and it's very close quarters. So you're in a suite style living. So I had 4 roommates, and then shared a bathroom and a common room with 16 people. No, there's one window that doesn't open, and it's very close quarters, I should say.
Did you
we
know
all got
these
along
people?
really great.
Wow.
I didn't know my roommates before I moved in, but I didn't go in random. So there's a group chat. Most people have already found it. If you've just committed to Ohio State, look on Facebook. Definitely get a Facebook if you're going to college. I know it seems like the kind of outdated, but it definitely comes back in college because there's a lot of networking that happens on there. Shameless plug. But there will be a class group on Facebook for Ohio State. Ours is like Ohio State class of 2023. And that's where a lot of the roommate stuff happens. So I came across a message on there from my roommate, Abigail, who actually lives in Maryland. And she was like, hey, like, I like to sing. I sang in high school. Let's talk a little bit more. So she DM'd me on Instagram, and then we requested to be together. And then we were just paired up randomly with another pair. For me, fortunately, it actually ended up working out really well. We all got along great. We were all from out of state. I was roommates with, again, a girl from Maryland, the Bay Area, and Delaware, but she had lived in Germany in high school. So just a weird mix of people. I was actually the closest to Columbus, and 6.5 hours away was the closest. So that was an interesting experience. But yeah, so Lincoln Towers.
Yeah, that's great. And then how did you pick Ohio State, and was that your first choice?
That's a good question. So my brother is 2 years, 1 grade older than me. He's currently studying music education at Illinois. And Illinois was definitely on my radar. I knew I wanted a Big Ten school because of my brother primarily. I just like the feel. I like the feel of the big campus. The school spirit vibes were really what I wanted. So I applied to Illinois, Michigan, sadly, Penn State, Ohio State, and then Illinois State because they have a really good education program. When you're an education major, you do have to take into account that you get certified to teach in whatever state that you go to college in.
Oh.
So if I do choose to go back home and find a job in Illinois, I will have to get recertified and pay to take certification tests and pass those tests to get certified in Illinois. So it is something that I had to think about and just keep on my radar. And right now I'm not particularly sure whether I want to stay in Columbus or whether I want to go back home. I don't think I have to know yet.
So you might end up,
but-
you might actually not continue your education at Ohio State.
No, I will after I finish my degree and end up
Okay.
as a licensed teacher, assuming all goes well. I will be certified to teach in Ohio.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
if I do choose to go back to Illinois to be around my family, because this is where all my family is. My little brother is 7 years younger than me, so he'll still be in high school when I graduate. If I want to see him finish high school, then I'd have to get recertified to find a teaching job in Illinois.
Gotcha. I didn't want to scare anybody else there because I think, Erin, it did sound like she might leave for a second, didn't it? Or you weren't confused?
I think just because I'm more in the education world, I knew what she meant.
Okay. So
To other people, like school and school to me mean like two different things. School and where I'm going to teach, but
I gotcha. So that makes sense. So your first year, so you went to the school of, how many are there, like 1 million people go to Ohio State, or is it like
I think it's like 60,000. Yeah.
100,000?
yeah,
There's quite a few.
But
it's
60,000.
roughly 7,000 per admittance class, and then more people as the years go on come in from the branch campuses, transfer in,
Okay.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because there's a lot of students. I mean, I know it's a wonderful place. Like I said, my dad's an alum, and I know it's a very competitive school and an amazing school in so many ways. I know a lot of people from Ohio. They want to go to Ohio State. It's important to go to Ohio State. I know Matt from Solon. If you ended up going to Ohio State, I know, well, Matt, both of you are Ohio people. Were you afraid of going to Ohio State because, it might be like going to high school all over again or seeing too many people you knew? Was that a concern for you?
Not really. My thinking was, it's just such a huge campus that, you'll probably meet so many new people that it's not going to really be like high school.
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't really concerned either. I just figured just doing the numbers, even though I came from a relatively large high school, the chances of me just even running into someone that I knew from high school on a daily basis would be fairly low, and that ended up being true.
Great. I know that at least Mackenzie, I'm also from Illinois, and I know when people talk about going to the University of Illinois, which is another huge school, so many people are like, oh, it's going to be like high school and I'm going to know everyone. Was that a conversation that your friends had?
Oh, most definitely. We actually, since our school colors in high school were orange and blue as well, so everybody called U of I Second Stag at our high school.
Right.
So, and in my Spanish class in high school, we did an activity group discussion where we talked about what our future plans were. And out of the 25 people in that class, I think 21 of them were going to Illinois.
The University of Illinois. Is
yeah.
it that common for you, Ohio? For you Buckeyes? Is it common for a lot of people from your high schools to go to Ohio State?
Yeah, my high school.
For my high school, yeah, it kind of was.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a large portion, but also not a huge portion. I would say probably less than a quarter went to Ohio State, and then I would say the other big quarters were like Miami, UC, and then University of Cincinnati. And then the other quarter of people usually went to trade school. We have a community college right by us called Sinclair, University of Dayton, all that kind of stuff, Bowling Green.
Yeah.
So I would say a lot of people went to OSU, but as admittance gets harder and harder, I feel like my freshman year of high school, so many seniors went to OSU, but that number kind of went down.
Yeah, because I know it's become very competitive, but also I think that's a myth that a lot of students have, that if they go to their big state school, that it's going to be like another high school. But clearly, I mean, it's not like that. I would think, especially, you've been able to prove that. So when it comes to your first choices for Matt and I know you're both Matt, so call one of you Matthew and the other Matt. And for Aaron, was Ohio State your first choice? And if not, tell me what was your first choice and why you didn't go there. So Matthew, I'll start with you. Let me know.
I was deciding between Ohio State, University of Pittsburgh, and I'm trying to remember what the last one was. NC State at the time. And they were all honestly about the same. Maybe Ohio State and Pittsburgh a little bit above NC State just because of money reasons, because it's expensive out of state.
Mm-hmm.
But the real thing that made me change was I came down to a football game actually my junior year of high school at the beginning. And just watching that and the whole experience made me realize that I wanted to be here. So.
Well, I mean, Ohio State football games, there's nothing like it. So, right, going to one of those games. And that's one of the bummers of, like, right now students can't come to campus and can't get a sense. I know it's not football season, but at least even basketball season. Matt, tell me why you chose Ohio State, and did you get rejected? I love rejection. I'm looking for rejection stuff too, because it's always fun to hear like where you didn't get to go and how you're so happy. But tell me your story, Matt.
Yeah, well, my first choice was actually Ohio State, but it wasn't the only college I applied to. I also applied to Bowling Green, Cincinnati, Case, Western Reserve, and Cleveland, and then unfortunately Michigan.
You guys have a lot of anger towards Michigan, huh?
I actually have a funny story about Michigan, but I'll wait until you're done.
So I ended up not getting into Michigan and Case Western, but that was okay because I got into Ohio State. So I guess my family's always been Buckeye fans, and I've always wanted to be in the band there. So I'm pretty happy with my decision to go to Ohio State.
Is it easy to get in the band? Do you just show up, or do you have to try out?
No. So
you guys are how dare I ask if it's easy to get in the band?
all summer we have these things called summer sessions, which is you go every Tuesday, Thursday, and you learn some of the marching. And it's kind of you learn the marching, they also get you into shape for tryouts. And then tryouts is a 2-day process where you do a music audition, and then you do 4 marching auditions. And something they said to me before I tried out is, if you want to be in shape, you have to be able to run a 5K, which is, it's pretty accurate. It's tryouts is not easy. It's not easy to get in the band, but it's definitely something that's worth it.
So you had to train, like you had to work on your cardio, and what instruments you play?
I'm a trumpet player, technically E flat cornet. It's just a smaller trumpet. They have something during tryouts where you can try out on a secondary instrument, and they have an E flat cornet. So I decided to do a secondary audition on that, and I ended up getting it on that.
So when you were running your 5K, did you run it with your trumpet?
No, but I had a band director that dotted the I, and he told me he would run around his yard with his sousaphone all the time.
Really? Right. I would think that would be, I've never seen people running through the park with their instruments. But Matthew, are you also, did you have to train for that? Was it hard for you to get in?
So yeah, I ended up practicing and doing a lot of cardio over the summer to make sure I was in shape. Because
you got cut though?
Yeah, my first year trying out, I didn't make band. So and one of the things that I personally thought about and contributed to that was I really wasn't in the best physical shape myself that I could have been. So the next year when I came back into it, besides practicing everything else and doing everything again, trying to get it as good as I could be, I made sure to put extra time aside to go on runs, do extra cardio stuff, anything that could help get me in better shape.
And then you got in. That's pretty, that's a hard thing to not get in. You were probably pretty disappointed, I would imagine.
Yeah, it is very disappointing, but like Mackenzie said earlier, it's about the journey getting there. And when I eventually did make band, it made it all worthwhile.
Did you ask what you could do to get in the next year, or did you just let it go?
Ask.
When you didn't get into band, did you
Oh.
ask what you could do so that you would be a better candidate?
When you don't make band, you actually get your score sheets back, and it just kind of lets you know the areas where you can improve, and you just take that and go from there.
Right. So you're able to do that. Sorry. So you were able to that's great. So you got the feedback and you're able to use that to improve.
Mhm.
Awesome. When it comes to academics, did any of you fail at first, struggle, get a C, a D, or an F, and just kind of get your world rocked a little bit? Does that resonate for anybody?
Yeah,
Matt, yeah,
that's
tell
happened to
me.
me.
Yes, tell me.
Yeah, well, I actually, this past semester, I actually went on probation for my major, which meant I got below a 2.0. And I think that was because I've been so used to, coming out of high school, you just don't have to study because everything just comes to you. And I guess for me, it's been something that's just like, you know, um, it's just been something that I've always thought I didn't really have to change my habits from high school. So actually this semester, Ohio State offers something at the Dennis Learning Center. It's a class. I'm not quite sure the name of it, but it's a class that's based off of studying, how to make your studying habits better. And that's just something I kind of decided to take instead of just trying the same old things coming out of high school. And it's really helped me boost my grades and my GPA.
What's the difference between each semester? Tell me the GPA before and the GPA, or the GPA after for that semester.
Last semester I got 1.9, and this semester I believe I'm on track for a 3.0.
Wow,
So
you should be really proud of yourself. That's amazing. Yeah, that's really great. And you went to what center to get help?
it's called the Dennis Learning Center.
Okay, and it's free help for you?
It's free help. It's generally included in your tuition.
Right. So you just have to
It's a
go and
class
get help.
it's just a 1-hour class you have to sign up for, and it's really helped.
Yeah. What's, I don't want to get too deep into it, but what's the most helpful thing for someone who struggles? I mean, because a 1.9 is not terrific.
No.
Like what's one skill you learned that really had an impact?
I think the most important thing was if you need help, you have to ask for help. If that includes, going into your professor's office hours, going to tutoring, anything that really is going to help you. You can't just tell yourself, hey, I'll get over this. I'm not doing so well, but I'll just study more. You have to ask for help.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, that's a really, I think a lot of people really struggle when it comes to their grades. And when you get a grade, and I don't mean to like keep saying 1.9, but like, that's a scary thing to get. What were you partying a lot? Were you not going to class, or was just the material so hard that you just needed extra help?
I think it was more, I kind of had a problem with procrastinating my work. And it was also, I think the most part of it was, procrastinating my work and just not taking it seriously as seriously as I could have, just not going into my professor's office hours and asking for help.
Aaron, when it comes to getting help, when it comes to the size of the classes at Ohio State, I would imagine you start off with larger classes, with bigger classes, and then they get smaller. Tell me what it's like. And Mackenzie, you could probably speak to this as a first-year student, how large your classes are. But Aaron, kind of walk me through how large those classes are and if it's easy to get help.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the huge myths about Ohio State is that our class sizes are super large. There's this really beautiful diagram that we use in the College of EAG. I wish I had it. But it's like a pie chart that talks about like the size of your classes. The majority, I think, of our classes are under 20 people.
Really? Mackenzie, you're nodding your head. You're a first-year student.
As a first-year student, I have only had, now granted, I'm an English ed major, so I know I didn't take Gen Chem. A lot of my roommates are STEM based majors, and they had larger lectures their first year with Gen Chem, with physics. Like those introductory science classes usually have larger lectures with smaller discussion groups, if I'm correct in saying that. But for me personally, I only had one class that had over, I want to say 40 people.
Wow, that is
all
shocking.
year. All year.
Now,
I've taken one or two classes. There's this one, actually in the same room a couple different times, that probably had like 200 people in it. But at the same time, like, I feel like it's kind of one of those things, like everybody has unofficial assigned seats. And so you kind of get to know the people you're sitting by throughout the semester, even though it's like this huge class. And I feel like the professors, especially if it is a really large class, are like pretty responsive to that. They understand that large classes can be hard. One of the biggest tips I have is, if large classes freak you out, sit in the first couple rows, because then you don't see all of the people behind you, and it won't freak you out as much. Same thing if you're like, it's one of those things where you take a test and then you leave. If you sit in the front row, you won't see all the other people leaving, and therefore you will be like, oh my gosh, I'm the last person in here. Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. Everyone's finishing before me. And you can just kind of focus on yourself.
yeah.
Also, pro tip, if you can, sit in a corner seat when you take a test in a lecture hall, because then you don't have to like crawl over everyone when you finish your test. It's just a really awkward thing that no one thinks about. And when I took my first unit test, first semester, I had to crawl over like 8 different people, and it was super awkward. So don't do that.
Like a
if
backpack.
You can avoid it. Yeah. Set your alarm early. You'll feel more prepared because you'll be there early. Hog that corner seat. Even if you don't usually sit in that corner seat, you might get a couple glares, but it's totally worth it. So
that's a great tip. Mackenzie, I understand you're in the honors program. Is that something that you're still a part of?
Yes.
Yeah, and is anyone else part of the honors program? No. So that's something. How did you get into the honors program? Was that something you had looked for before you applied? Was it on the Common App? Are you happy with it?
One of the supplemental essays on the Common App, I believe, or if it wasn't on the Common App, then it was right after the Common App. Like it might have been. Yeah, I think it was with the Common App actually. It was a 250 to 350 word essay that said, I think it was compare yourself to a fictional character. And they were just looking for a creative, kind of out of the box answer. I compared myself to Belle from Beauty and the Beast because I wanted to seek adventure in an out-of-state college. It was super cheesy, but they're just really looking for you to be insightful and to be personable. They're not looking for, oh, I'm like Atticus Finch because I'm this, that, and knowledgeable and blah, 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 blah. They're not looking for that. They're looking for you to be you and looking for you to know how to represent yourself.
Right.
So one of the things that I did when I was writing all my application essays really was to make a list of really pros and cons about myself. And that's a really good way to prepare for job interviews, to proceed starting to write a resume, all those things. You need to know what your strengths and weaknesses are, and you need to be constantly reevaluating those, because I think knowing how to market yourself is a really important skill to have in this whole college process. Senior year, I compared college to a ping pong game because you wanted colleges to like you, and then they want you to like them back, and then it just goes back and forth and back and forth. And then it's the same way with the workplace environment. It's back and forth. You're applying to them, then they want you, then they have to try to win you over, and it's just, yeah.
Right. It's nice that you actually feel worthy enough where you believe that they need to win you over. I think a lot of people get so caught up in being wanted and wanting everybody to want them that they lose sight of that. Speaking of wanted and being wanted, how are all your love lives? What's the social life there at the Ohio State? Is it easy to find is there some love? Is anyone in love right now on the panel? Aaron's in love. That's nice.
I would say I am.
That's
have a
nice.
little,
Oh, you're engaged.
nice little, well, I'm not quite engaged yet. I will be soon, as a little birdie has told me. But this is my promise ring. My boyfriend got it for me before I left for college. So we actually dated in high school. So we started dating my junior year of high school. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary.
Wow.
And so I had a little bit of a different experience because I wasn't actively dating in college. Still not. Well, I mean, I am, but he doesn't go to Ohio State.
Right.
So I can speak a little bit to the long distance relationship kind of aspect. It's not always easy and it's not always fun. I know my roommate and her boyfriend will have like dinner together every night. I used to, I feel a little bit bitter about it, but I realized also that when people date in college, then they don't usually see each other over breaks. Whereas I don't see him during school, but I see him over breaks. And so, it's kind of a, you get some, you lose some kind of
Right.
situation.
My philosophy with the long distance piece is that your job is to be so damn happy apart that you can be even happier together, but you have to learn how to be happy apart. Would you agree with that?
I would. And I feel like also it's hard too, because then you get so used to being apart that when you come back together, you almost have to learn how to do that again. Like I've gotten so good at texting him how I feel that sometimes I don't say to his face how I feel. And just different things like that you just have to be cognizant of.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, Matt and Matthew, how is your social life at Ohio State?
Well, for me, I'm generally an introvert, but I think I still have a social life. I live with people right now off campus that are in the band. I generally hang out with people in the band. Basically my social life revolves around the band.
It's the band, man. The band stays together, hangs out together. That's great. So if you didn't have the band, you'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, you're not in trouble, but it's nice. I mean, you found your place. I think that's really, it's really where I'm getting is that when you're at a place like Ohio State, you got to find your place. Like you got to find your place. Matthew, when you didn't get into the band your first year, was it hard for you to connect and find friends?
Not really, because I ended up joining the athletic band after I didn't make the marching band that year, so I was still able to find my group of friends. I was also in the scholars program my first 2 years of college, so I had my friends from that. And
Great.
then there were just the other friends that I made throughout my classes as well.
Great. Okay, so you found your places through that lens. And I think, Aaron, you said you were also part of a band as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in our university band, which there's 4 like concert bands at Ohio State. One of them you do not have to try out for, which is the one that I'm in, just because I don't have performance anxiety, but I have really bad like tryout anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm in that. I've been in that for 4 semesters, and that's a good way for me to really engage with concert production, because I don't really get to do that much in college. Right. At least I wasn't freshman year.
That's great. So you found, I love that if you don't get into the band, if you don't get into one, there's always a place for you to share your love of music. So there's no being turned away. I want to do I'm going to wrap things up very shortly, but I want to do this is the fast action round. And I want to know, when it comes to places where seniors and juniors in high school could look to find their connection and community at OSU, what are some of the places that are pretty easy access that you can always find your people? Because I think that's what's really intimidating. It's like, how do you find your people, especially if you're out of state? So if you could think of clubs, activities, organizations that are some of the bigger ones, even if you're not a part of it, if you have friends who are a part of it, that would be cool too. So like, just do like seriously like rapid fire, because I always want to hear, those organizations. I'll start with you, Mackenzie, and you can just, whoever wants to pick up next can pick up next, but we'll just be like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. So first of all, there's an involvement fair at the beginning of each semester, actually. So you go around, it takes up both ovals, so it's huge. And it shows the over 2,000 student orgs on campus. A couple that my roommates participated in that are pretty large on campus is undergraduate student government, was huge. Ohio Union Activities Board, which coordinates a whole bunch of fun stuff. Those are the two that I can think of right now, but those are huge.
Cool. Give me more. Someone.
For
Classes at the RPAC is really fun.
True.
It's not necessarily a club, but they're free. They're included in your like facilities fee or whatever. And you can go with friends. You can do yoga. You can do cycling. You can do weightlifting. You can do like whatever.
That sounds great. Matt, what were you gonna say?
For me, one of the clubs I joined, which I really, really liked, and I've met a lot of people, was called the Buckeye Space Launch Initiative, which is kind of just many people come together and we all just build one rocket, and we're each split into different teams. So something you might like, maybe the structures of the rocket, or me, I joined the avionics, which is like the circuit board of the rocket. So that's something that's more in the STEM area, but that's something I've really met a lot of people there as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's great.
In terms of athletics, there's non-competitive, competitive, and competitive intramurals. There's like 2 or 3 different levels of intramural sports, and the club teams, and then obviously you could call them varsity level sports, but the legitimate
we know who we're
D1 sports.
Right.
So there's a whole bunch of different opportunities to be athletic on campus, and to play with people. Also check within your pre-major or in your major groups, because there's a lot of different opportunities. My roommate was in the molecular genetics club, as she's a mol gen major. So a lot of majors have clubs where you can connect with people.
That's great. Matthew, did you have something to add?
No, they took it all from me.
They took it all. Are any of you super broke right now? You know, right, Mackenzie, you're scraping for pennies. How have you managed being a broke student?
It's okay. Right now, I'm very fortunate to have the support of my parents as a first-year student. So I'm not gonna lie there. Like, they are supporting me quite substantially right now. I know that expectation is going to change, and as an out-of-state student, it is more difficult. I will say that there's I think the benchmark for the SAT score is 1350 for the National Buckeye Scholarship, which was a huge help for me. That ended up, if you want me to use numbers, I will.
Yeah, give us numbers as much as you can disclose.
So I think that's $14,000 a year, which basically lowered it down to in-state for me, or pretty close to in-state.
What's out of state, roughly?
Out of sorry, I can't talk. Gosh, out of state tuitions was like $42,000, I think, which was way out of my price range. So upon looking at that sticker price, it was like, yeah, you get sticker shock. It's wild. Sure. But there are definitely ways to take that down. There's university scholarships. There's scholarships within your college, as well as independent scholarships. Also, just for the high schoolers out there, look into your local scholarship opportunities too. I know my high school and my school districts had a lot of different local scholarships. I ended up getting a scholarship from the teachers union of my school district.
How much?
Which
take us down, give us numbers for all the scholarships you got.
Yeah, I think that was $1,500. And then in addition to the National Buckeye one, which was the largest, there's 3 different levels of merit scholarships. I forget what the middle one was called, but I got the middle one because I missed the upper one by like 10 points or something like that. I was really frustrated by
How much was that one?
$3,000 a year, I think. Those 2 are renewable.
Nice. So we were at 14, and then 3 would be 17. Then you got another one for 1,500, so that's 18,500. Were there any more scholarships or ways that you've been able to get the cost down?
I'm trying to think. I worked over the summer. I tried to work a job on campus, actually. I applied and got the job before I made band, because I honestly didn't think I was going to make band. And then I ended up making band, and I tried to do band and a job and classes. I had 17 credit hours for semester, and it was just all too much. So I think that was a humbling moment for me, because I used to be the person that was like, go, 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 you can do everything. And I was very much not able to do everything. It was just a campus coffee job, but I had to say no to that. And don't be afraid to say no if you come across an instance like that where you feel overloaded, because ultimately you're trying to get your education. So yeah.
That's awesome. And then there's anybody else who got money? A scholarship?
Yeah, so my parents have helped me substantially. They had a 529 college fund for me, because I am an only child, and they had me a little bit later in life. I was actually adopted, and so my dad keeps like meticulous records. Over the past 3 years, I've gotten enough scholarships that I've paid for a whole semester.
Wow, so scholarships.
College. So that, yeah.
And then for you guys, if you're a high schooler who's intimidated by the price, how do you even know that you're going to qualify for these or get these, or, it can change things so dramatically? How do you approach that?
I guess for me, it's just, keep applying for scholarships. If you see a scholarship, apply for it. Just go for it. You might get rejected for a few, but you might also get a bunch. That's kind of what happened to me. I applied for a bunch, and I ended up getting a couple. And my first year, I ended up paying $5,000.
Wow.
So that was great for my first year.
Yeah. And then did you have to, for the second year, and this is also another question, is sometimes people will get money for their first year, but they don't think about how much it's going to cost for the second and third year. So how did that impact you?
Yeah, so like Aaron said, my parents also had a 529, so that also helped with paying for it. And some of the other scholarships were renewable, so that also helped for the second year.
What does renewable mean in terms of scholarships for those who are learning?
You can just apply for it again, and they'll give it to you again.
So you automatically get it. Once you get it, it's available if you apply for it again.
Yeah.
Great. That's cool. So those are a lot. And then I know that, Aaron, you also work and you make some money. We talked about that. For those students who are in high school, if you have any questions about the Ohio State University, we have panelists here who are leaders on campus. Many of them are involved with band and many different levels. We got Mackenzie, who's part of the honors program. We've got engineers, we've got education majors. And if you have a question and you don't see someone here who can answer it, there's someone who you all know, I imagine, right? Because like the band's got everybody, right? Like there's always someone in the band who's doing something, or who's or is a musician in one of the places. These people can help connect you. If you were to go back in time, all of you, and you were to be transplanted back to high school your freshman year in high school, okay, very different you, and you could actually talk to freshman you about your college choice, your college journey, what would you say to you to really help relieve anxiety, to make it an easier, simpler process for you? So why don't I start with the guys, and then we'll go to Aaron, and then we'll wrap up with Mackenzie. So let's start with Matthew. We'll do Matt, we'll do Matthew, Matt, and then Aaron and Mackenzie. So, and I'd like talk to you, say, hey, you, here's what you need to do. All right, let's get rolling.
Honestly, I just tell myself, keep doing what you're doing. Everything's going to work its way out. Because if there was anything I was in high school, it was just anxious about everything. Just keep doing what you think is right. Keep going. Everything's going to turn out just fine.
Are you still an anxious person?
A little bit, not as much as I used to be.
Right. What were you most worried about not turning out as planned?
Yeah, every little thing.
Really? Yeah. So how do you, to the student who's like anxious, because there's a lot of anxious students, how do you alleviate some of that? Do you have any words of wisdom?
Honestly, the way I deal with it is I kind of just take it as I look on the past experiences, so I know this is going to happen. Like all these random things that I thought could happen didn't happen. Help me get my head back down to earth and just think logically through it and just process some elimination. Everything's going to be fine. Trust your friends, talk to your family members, your peers, all that.
Is there, I don't, and you don't have to answer this, but in terms of counseling services at OSU, is that something that you've thought of taking advantage of, or have friends that take advantage of?
I've personally not taken advantage of it because now it's not too much of an issue as it used to
Okay.
be when I was in freshman high school. I'm currently a senior, so this was a very long time ago.
Yeah.
But Ohio State does offer a lot of counseling services that are great for these kind of things. There's pretty much something for every level, depending on what you need.
Great. Yeah, I'm a big fan of therapy. I have my therapist. We do teletherapy every 2 weeks, now that we can't see each other. So anyway, thanks for sharing that. Matt, what do you have to say to you?
I guess I would say don't go into college thinking it's going to be like high school, because high school and college are two very different things in terms of maybe workload and also in terms of your social life. I think you're going to be challenged a lot based on like your view diversity instead of just coming from this small town where everybody's kind of the same. So I think it's just kind of don't go into college thinking it's going to be like high school. Just be open to change.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. Aaron, what about you?
I would tell myself to worry so much less about college and to really enjoy high school for what it is. I feel like, and this could have just been my high school or like my viewpoint of it, but I spent all of high school thinking about college. What's college going to be like? Am I going to get in? Where am I going to go? Where are my friends going to go? You know, I took like all these AP classes. I did college credit plus my senior year. And in a lot of ways, I feel like I kind of just like skipped high school. I feel like I just never really got to enjoy like, I don't know, like I hear my parents talk about high school, or I see like these old like pictures like, oh, this was me in high school. And it's like, I feel like I didn't really get that full experience because I was so focused on college. College will happen if that's what you want to do. Like you'll go, it'll be fine. So like enjoy where you are now.
Yeah. Are you enjoying college now and where you are?
I feel like it took me a long time. I really did not love college the first like really 2.5, 3 years of it.
Why?
Just because I feel like, and this kind of is the opposite problem when we were talking about grades. I have a 4.0 GPA, and I kind of sacrificed everything for it. My mental health, my grade, or not my grades, but my like friendships. And whereas, you know, my friends would be going to parties or doing some like different stuff like that, I'd be home alone, just like studying, typing, obsessing about my grades and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like this year is the first year I've really struck a really good balance of, it's like I'm 21. It's okay to go get drinks with your friends. You know, this paper isn't due for 2 weeks. You don't need to write it tonight.
Yeah. And then were you able to get some help with that? Did you talk to someone? What's made you so balanced now?
Yeah, so I did start going to the counseling and consultation services that Matthew alluded to towards the end of my freshman year, the beginning of my sophomore year. And I actually they offer free classes, and then they also offer 10 free sessions of one-on-one. And I went to one of the big group classes about perfectionism. And the whole time I sat there literally taking notes on my phone, and I was just like, this is me. I've never felt so understood in my life, and this is not a good way to be understood. And so after watching that presentation, I feel like I kind of call myself like a recovering perfectionist, which is kind of melodramatic, but that's really how I feel. You know, like I need to let certain things go that really don't matter.
Yeah, I think that's a great lesson. And Mackenzie, I know that Erin is, I don't know, would you call her a mentor or like not a big sister?
Yeah,
like,
she's friend, mentor, all of the above.
Yeah. So is it interesting to hear her talk about trying to be so perfect and having that become so heavy and overwhelming?
Yeah, I definitely empathize with that. My tip for myself would have been stop trying to do everything and learn how to manage free time. Because I came to college with the mindset that, like the high school mindset, I was in class from 7 to 3, no lunch. And then I was in activities from 3 to 9, 10 o'clock at night sometimes. And then I would start my homework. So I had no free time to do anything. And now I don't know how to manage it. I'm currently horrible at procrastinating. And I just struggle to manage free time a lot. So I'd tell myself in high school, hey, maybe cut back a little bit, give yourself a lunch, give yourself a study hall so you learn how to manage those in-between gaps in the day, in between your classes, learn how to study not at 12 a.m. when you have no other choice but to study because you have a big exam tomorrow, and learn how to develop those positive, healthy study habits. Because I got into some really bad habits because of that mindset that you constantly need to be doing everything all the time. And now I'm trying to recoup some of the missed years that I've had of trying to develop that knowledge. So
I'm hearing you say, it seems like a common theme of do less and enjoy the moment more. But if people do less and enjoy the moment more, they might not get into Ohio State or their other school, or how do you respond to that, to the student who's like, great,
I'd respond to that with doing less doesn't necessarily mean not committing as much, because it allows you to be more invested in the couple things that you're committed to. I had a person tell me in junior high, actually, one of my teachers told me, why are you trying to do so much when you're spreading yourself too thin, and you're going to be good at nothing. You'll be good at nothing, but you'll do everything. So that if that's what's important to you, then it's the jack of all trades, master of none kind of concept. And at a big school like Ohio State, you really can't be the jack of all trades. Because there's so many people, there will always be someone better than you in that trade. And I hate to be blunt about it, but that's how it is. So you really have to kind of do some soul searching and say, hey, what am I passionate about? What one or two groups can I join that I'm really committed to? A couple of my closest friends from high school ended up going to really small schools in Illinois, and they talk about how they have a job and they're stage managed and they're in 2 shows at once on top of 18 credits. And I'm like, how? Like, that wouldn't be physically possible at Ohio State, just because you're drawing from a much larger population, and because of the pool of people there with interests and talents, you kind of have to centralize yourself and focus on what you're really passionate about. So
yeah, well, that's great. I think this is wonderful advice. And for anybody who's watching, if there's someone here you identify with, again, just because I mentioned this earlier, but all of you have included your social media, and we'll include a link, and people can send you a note. And if they send you a note, are you going to respond? Yes or no? You think you'll respond? You will, right? And it's a safe. I can tell you want to respond. And if someone here doesn't have the answers, they'll connect you with someone who does. Is there anything that anyone wanted to mention or clarify before we sign off? No, you're all good. Panelists, if you can just stay for one more moment. I just want to stop the live stream here. Thanks everybody for watching live, and really appreciate it. I appreciate you being here. We're going to publish this on Before College TV, and we will be sure to answer your questions, and the panel is available for you as well long after you watch this presentation. Thank you all for being here, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.